Ted Lieu didn't bring a document. He pressed play on a video. A journalist describing what Jeffrey Epstein showed him in a safe. Photographs spread out like playing cards. Lieu paused it and asked FBI Director Kash Patel, "Are there photographs showing Trump with individuals connected to Epstein's operation?" Patel said no. "How do you know?" Patel said 20 years of investigation would have surfaced anything significant. Lieu stopped him. "That's just not true. No one knew about the birthday message until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it. The FBI didn't surface it." Patel went silent, then admitted, "You raise a great point." He just agreed his own argument was wrong. But Lieu wasn't done. 100 hours of Epstein recordings exist. A journalist has them. Has the FBI subpoenaed them? Patel: "I don't know." Has the FBI interviewed the journalist? "I don't know." Is Trump on the client list? Patel pointed to an index instead of answering. 5 minutes, 3 unanswered questions, and a record that includes all of it. March 20th, 2026. House Judiciary Committee hearing. FBI Director Kash Patel's second consecutive day of congressional testimony. Let me tell you who Ted Lieu is. He represents California in the House. Before politics, he was a JAG officer in the United States Air Force, a military lawyer who conducted investigations and prosecuted cases in a system where evasive answers don't fly. He reached the rank of colonel in the Air Force Reserve before retiring in 2021. Stanford degree, Georgetown Law. He sits on House Judiciary. That background matters. Lieu isn't a politician asking general oversight questions, hoping for a usable clip. He's someone who spent a significant portion of his career in rooms where the person across the table is expected to know the facts of their own case. When Patel said, "I don't know," Lieu heard that differently than most people in that room. Patel had already been questioned for hours. Epstein files, court orders, what was released, what wasn't. He had his answers rehearsed. Then Lieu did something different. He started with basics. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence in 2019, correct? Patel confirmed. Among the items found was a safe, correct? Patel said he didn't have the evidence catalog in front of him, but would accept Lieu's representation. Think about that. The FBI director testifying about the most publicly discussed case under his oversight doesn't have the evidence catalog in front of him. Inside that safe, agents discovered a collection of photographs, correct? Same answer. I'll accept your representation. I don't know. Lieu made his point plainly. It was all over the media at the time. The New York Times reported it July 8, 2019. A trove of photographs found in a safe at Epstein's Manhattan mansion. This wasn't obscure information. It was public record, front-page news, and the FBI director said he didn't know. That pattern, "I'll accept your representation," established something important before Lieu even got to his main questions. Because a director who accepts a congressman's account of his own agency's evidence catalog is a director who either hasn't reviewed the case closely or has decided not to say so on the record. Either way, it set a tone, and Lieu was about to use it. Lieu then introduced Michael Wolff. Wolff is one of the most recognized journalists in Washington, best known for Fire and Fury, his account of the first Trump White House. He's also, by his own account, the journalist who spent the most time with Jeffrey Epstein before Epstein's arrest. Wolff estimates he conducted approximately 100 hours of interviews with Epstein over several years. He's released portions of those recordings publicly. In one, Epstein describes Donald Trump as his closest friend for a decade. Lieu played a clip of Wolff describing a specific moment. Epstein went to his safe, produced a series of photographs, spread them out like playing cards, and showed Wolff what he claimed they contained. Lieu paused the clip. Director Patel, are there any photographs showing Donald Trump with individuals connected to Epstein's operation? Patel said no. How do you know? Patel said that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the last 20 years. Lou stopped him there. That is just not true. No one knew about the birthday message that Trump reportedly sent Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it. And when it came to light, the Epstein estate provided it to Congress. The FBI did not surface it. Patel acknowledged the point. You raise a great point. That acknowledgement is worth sitting with. Patel had just argued that 20 years of investigation would have surfaced any significant material. Lou gave him one documented example of significant material that hadn't been surfaced by the FBI. It came to light only through outside reporting and estate disclosure. And Patel agreed. You raise a great point. That's not the language of someone confident in the completeness of his agency's review. That's the language of someone who just had his own argument turned against him and chose to agree rather than defend it. Lou moved to the tapes. Wolf has said publicly he holds approximately 100 hours of recorded interviews with Epstein. These aren't secret recordings. They're journalist interviews conducted over several years. Wolf has released portions publicly. Major news organizations have reported on their contents. In November 2024, Wolf released a recording where Epstein described Trump as his closest friend for a decade. The tapes aren't obscure. They're known, discussed, reported on. They represent the most extensive on-record account of Epstein's world that exists outside the FBI's own files. Lou asked directly, has the FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein? Patel, I don't know. Lou pressed, would it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff? Patel said he couldn't say they hadn't already done so. He just didn't know. He'd get back to Lou with a specific answer. The FBI director doesn't know whether his bureau has made contact with the journalist holding the most extensive on-record interview archive of Jeffrey Epstein in existence. That's not a minor gap. It's not a technicality. Wolff's tapes have been publicly discussed for years. The question of whether the FBI had moved to obtain or review them wasn't obscure. And the answer was, I don't know. Lou moved to the Epstein estate. He noted that the birthday message had come from the estate, not from the FBI. He asked whether the FBI should subpoena the estate for everything it holds. Patel said, the estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. Lou stopped him. That is just false. You are the FBI. You can subpoena information from the estate, and you should do that. Patel said, that is literally not how it works. Lou said he was moving on. That disagreement didn't get resolved, but the stakes are clear. If Patel's right, the FBI has no path to materials the estate holds that it hasn't voluntarily disclosed. If Lou's right, the FBI has had that path all along and hasn't used it. One of those two things is true. And the FBI director's response, the estate has no obligation, rather than any commitment to pursue the question legally, left the room without an answer. Lou closed with the client list. Patel had confirmed in earlier testimony that a list of names connected to Epstein's operation existed. Attorney General Pam Bondi had confirmed the same. Earlier in 2025, Bondi told reporters the list was on her desk and under review. A subsequent DOJ memo concluded there was no client list in the way the public had imagined it. That contradiction had never been cleanly resolved, and Lou had two names he wanted to ask about. Is Prince Andrew on the list? Patel said material related to Prince Andrew had been made public. Lou asked again, is Prince Andrew on the client list? Patel said the FBI had released the index of names. Lou asked, is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list? Patel said the index had been released and the index would speak for itself. That's not an answer. It's a way around one. The index wasn't what Lou was asking about. He was asking about two specific names and whether those names appear on a list the FBI director had confirmed exists. A yes or no question. Twice. And twice Patel pointed to an index instead of answering. If the answer is no, That's one word. Patel didn't say it. Liu closed his time by telling the committee, "It is a significant red flag that the FBI director cannot say whether Donald Trump is on the Epstein client list." The chair called time. Three things stand out from those 5 minutes. First, Patel said photographs of the kind Wolf described don't exist. Then acknowledged in the same exchange that the FBI didn't know about the birthday message until outside reporting surfaced it. Second, Patel said he didn't know whether his bureau had made contact with the journalist holding 100 hours of Epstein interviews. Third, Patel declined to answer yes or no when asked whether two specific names appear on a list he'd already confirmed exists. None of those are accusations. They're the answers the FBI director gave under oath. What they suggest about how thoroughly the Bureau has pursued the Epstein case, about what it has and hasn't done with the tools available to it, is a question Liu put on the record. Patel's answers are there alongside it. The pattern across those 5 minutes was consistent. "I'll accept your representation. I don't know. The index will speak for itself." Each answer technically responded to the question without actually answering it, and each one left the same gap between what was asked and what was said, between what the FBI director confirmed exists and what he was willing to confirm directly. Within hours, #TheSafeTheList was trending. The Wolf tapes, the estate subpoena question, the two names Patel wouldn't confirm or deny. The questions are on the record. The answers are too. And the gap between them is still there.